Hi, I'm Garmbreak1, and this is Midgardia's cool crowdfunding show. I'm here today with Amanda and Bill. How's it going?
Hey, thank
Ooh,
you so much for having us. This
yeah,
is fun.
going great.
Yeah.
Going
Thank you
good.
both for being here. So you're here today to talk about Romancelvania. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
Totally. You want to take it or Sean?
Romancelvania can best be described as Dracula or Castlevania meets The Bachelor. So it is a metroidvania with relationship building and a hub world, base building, and it's a lot of fun. It's cheeky, it's silly.
Yeah, but it's basically if you like action games, but wish there was a little bit something more, a little bit more deeper relationships, and I guess world building and that sort of thing. You get to know the characters a little bit more rather than just going out and fight.
And it's a parody. So it is not. It does nothing takes itself seriously.
Yeah, just trying to have fun. Exactly. Yeah. It's a lot of serious stuff. We're watching The Boys right now, the series on Amazon.
Yes,
we're loving it, but it's like, oh man, this is dark. It's also, there's a lot of satire in there as well. But we have satire in ours.
Yeah,
as well,
it's intense.
But yeah, and so this is it's great. Every day we come in, we're working on this, and our team is like, there's just the amount of just silliness. Just
team meetings about level stuff, and we'll just be laughing ourselves sick when we come up with a new silly pun named area or something. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun to work on.
Yeah, I was going through the Kickstarter just before this interview, and I came across the Hadoken, which I hadn't noticed before, and that is inspired. I love it.
Nice. Yeah, it's the first time we can really let our hair down and do wild stuff like that. It's great, So take everything we love and mash it up into something that's like that people like. I think my favorite reactions are like, what is this? I never knew I needed this in my life. I'm here for it. Like it's so weird and I love it,
Yeah, it gets weirder the more you go down the page, and like still comes together coherently, which is nice.
Well,
thank you.
That I appreciate that. Yeah.
It's like, is this off the rails?
Is that
bad?
We're scratching the surface here of how fun it is, and that's exactly it. Like there's gonna be some stuff that like actually it's funny because we had someone from the UK who was giving some feedback because we have this one boss. It's a giant spaghetti monster, and you fight it in front of a sort of Olive Garden inspired restaurant, and so we call it the Meatball Garden. And like my friend from the UK was like, I don't know, Meatball Garden, what's going on? And I was like, you know, the Olive Garden there,
breadsticks.
You guys are missing out. Yeah, unlimited breadsticks.
When you're here, your family.
Yeah. So yeah, there's got to be a lot of stuff that people are like, what the hell are you talking about? And that's fine because I think that's the best kind of thing. You get layered humor and there's the stuff that's very punny. That's either super dorky. You have the pop cultural references. You get satire. You've got
Then you just have like dumb jokes. Like we have a boomerang that's made of bones, and we call it the bonerang, and like that's just a cheap laugh.
Yeah. But I do want to be careful there because some people, it's weird. Some people come in and they think that it's like, and this is not being judgy at all, but they're like, is this game like hentai or is it like, porny or whatever? I'm like, I'm glad that exists. It's just not what we're doing at all. Like, it's not knocking it. But we have a saying on the team that it's naughty, not dirty. And we like to play around and have fun and be cheeky.
Yeah.
Right. Right. So you can stream this on Twitch.
Well,
probably.
Well, that's the goal. I'm not sure
sure
about the rating, of course, but we have a story we want to tell. We have a tone, and we have those sort of pillars you put up there about naughty, not dirty. But actually, streaming is very important to us. I think that you look at. We don't like to say dating sim because I feel like we're a mashup, and there's a lot of pieces that we love from dating sims. And there's some stuff that we feel we could do a little bit differently, take it in a slightly different direction, and maybe streamline it and make it feel a little bit more, I guess you could say organic.
Yeah, maybe, I feel like the relationships are much closer to the relationships in a BioWare game rather than a straight up dating sim. I always use the example. When I played Dragon Age, I liked to be by like the campfire so they could have all the conversations and talk to all the people and do all that sort of stuff. And that's kind of what I lived for. Like I would just play the game like really fast and be like, I just want to like sit down and talk with everyone. So what we have Drax Castle, which is where the reality show is. And so for people like me, You could spend as much time in there as you want. For the people who are just kind of like want to get to the Metroidvania action, you go in, you get your quests, you do the couple things, check off the boxes, and then you get out. So with that, we at the deep end, we're really into player choice, and we feel like by having this hub world, we're giving people the choice to see how much proportion is relationship to Metroidvania. So we know there are different types of players who are going to play this game. So
I did warn you that we tend to go off the rails and ramble a bit. So
no, that's
no, you. I started it. That was it was.
I mean, that's just answering my next like 6 questions in a row. So that's perfectly good.
Well then,
spoilers. Sorry.
Well, that's the interview. No, we're good. But yeah, one of my first questions was like, hey, I'm not really sure if I'm gonna be able to stream this on Twitch. Just look at the massage, the massage scene. Like, depending on how far this goes.
So that's a great point, and like those are the kind of things where, I could see where that goes. But on my head, there was just like, oh, it's a nice, sweet little massage, and it's a little bit. Well, yeah, of course it's sexy, but it's not.
There's a lot of side boob in that massage.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I guess I'm not afraid of the human body, but
it's risque, but not like lewd, I guess. Yeah.
It's not lewd,
you have to use that word more, risque. But I think it'll be totally friendly for streaming. And in fact, one of the cool things about it, the general premise that we haven't really talked much about, is that Dracula. The premise is that Dracula is trapped on a reality show. It's a reality dating show, and part of that, as you imagine, just similar to what you see within The Bachelor, as you're making your way across the campaign, if we can call it a campaign, making your way through the show, you're
campaign.
Oh, write that one down. You have to vote people off the show. You have to basically every so often, Grimm, the producer of the show, it's his first foray into creation, and he's created the show as the producer, megalomaniac, director type.
Total psychopath.
yeah, and he makes you vote people off the show, and so you basically have all these relationships and all these opportunities to engage with the different characters. New character comes in, and you get to know them, and everything's going good. And then Grimm's like, "All right, it's go time. Who's going?" And so you got to give someone, basically the black rose, and that's the
right. And we feel like with streaming, you could have everybody chiming in, like, who are you gonna get rid of?
Yeah,
and it lends itself to replayability and streamability, and
yeah.
Man,
So.
you could definitely work in like Twitch integration to let viewers vote.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh shoot! I wish I hadn't said that.
I'm a little sorry.
No, that's great. Geez. I think if things go well, like we're obviously the Kickstarter, and then talk about partnerships and that kind of thing, because there's we have a giant list of characters that we'd like to get to.
Yeah.
And actually, one of the great things about Kickstarter is that we're getting all this amazing feedback. And I don't know if you caught, but was it yesterday? It's all a blur, but was it yesterday we released Van Helsing?
Yeah.
So we had some requests to be like, can we have to sort of get a little more variety? Are there any more male characters or non-binary characters? And we're like, well, there's the Van Helsing play, and so we have a bunch that we haven't announced, and we have a bunch in the back pocket for if things go well for add-on or that kind of thing. So we're having so much fun, and it's such a there's just so much great earth to till. Is that a saying? Did I make that up?
Yeah,
that's good.
Or
to mine, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's a better way of saying it. Yeah, you get all the right words. Yeah. This is what happens when you're in a Kickstarter. You lose your mind. You're just like, I can't.
It's
form
intense.
Sentences.
Like it's intense beforehand because you're getting everything ready, and then it starts, and it's like you're just almost constantly responding to things.
Yeah.
And
it's great. It's like the energy. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But
I've had like former military people on here, and they're still just like, yeah, this is the most stressful month of my life.
Wow, that's something. See?
Yeah, so your experience is perfectly normal, don't worry. So how did you come about to the idea of vampire reality show Metroidvania dating sim?
Yeah, Do you want to talk about maybe how we you sort of?
I'll talk about the project we pivoted off, and then what was going through your mind, because that actually cracks me up, and I didn't know it. So we were working on. So our first title was Perception, came out in 2017. It's about a blind woman sort of exploring a haunted mansion using echolocation, which is a real thing, by the way, that we studied in depth and is fascinating. So Perception came out. Afterwards, we started to maybe try to possibly port Perception to VR, but that wasn't really happening. And we worked on this other title called Dark Web, which was really cool. And it was a horror anthology. And we were really excited about it. But working in horror for too long can kind of drag you down energetically. We have 4 kids, and just constantly watching scary stuff, talking about really unsettling things, it kind of just like brought us really down in a way. And one day Bill just said one word to me, and he just said, "What do you think about this?" Romancelvania. And I was like, whatever it is, like, take my money. Like, yes, like I don't know what it is, but I want it. And so we kept working on Dark Web, but when we were around industry friends, we would kind of be like, Romancelvania. They'd be like, yeah, like, yes. And then finally Bill just sort of one day was like, listen, if you could work on anything, what would it be? And I was like, duh, Romancelvania. So we decided on what it was. We started to make it, but he finally revealed the story of where that word came from in his head, and it cracks me up. It makes me laugh.
What, the Salem thing?
Yeah, the Salem Witches.
Oh, it's not that. Yeah,
I think it's funny.
Yeah, I usually play Symphony of the Night like once a year. It's usually around
in October.
Yeah,
obviously.
And so I was like in the basement. There's like these caves, and there's these Salem witches flying around, and I remember seeing. I was like, it just hit me all of a sudden. I played it, I don't know, dozens of times. I was like, why are all these witches in the basement here? It's like, what's going on? And then I thought it was like, it's like there was like Drac had a ball, had like a big gala, and everyone just kind of like stuck around afterwards. And this is like the after party. Yeah. And it's like, and I was like, wait, so was he like, were they dating? And I started to imagine, I was like, what if Dracula had a big gala and he's got all these relationships, and he's got all of these he's dating the incubus and the succubus and just all the different characters in the world, and that was fun.
So this is not a prequel, but how did those monsters get in Drac's castle?
Yeah, right.
Well, they got into something else with Drax by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
That's I like that. I like that. Just like, played the game dozens of times, and one day you're like, wait a minute, why is this?
Yeah. Yeah. It only occurs to you after several hundred hours playing the game. You're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, you just like start looking at one or two background details, and you're like, what is that?
Yeah, exactly. Before you know it, you're picking out things that don't belong on the Aladdin cover, and you're seeing.
Look at the cover of Little Mermaid for the 15th time. You're like, is that a giant penis in the castle?
That's what I meant. Well, did Aladdin have something?
I think they all did.
Yeah.
I think there was proof in the works.
Yeah, Little Mermaid's the only one I know.
Yeah.
No, they all did. I remember something like it's dumb stuff. Like, it's not even like that bad, but like in Aladdin, something like the tiger drops on some flowers, and like the flower petals spell out the word sex if you press a button at the right time. And just
button. It's not a video game.
Pause.
If you push the button.
Pause is a button.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah.
It's a button. Listen, we're burnt out brains.
It's true.
Clearly. Kickstarter.
Clearly.
You guys are wonderful to talk to. Is there anything you guys would really like to highlight about like the play style of the game?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's very similar to what a lot of us on the team did with BioShock, which was take the things that we love and we put them together, and you create something that's new. And everyone, in entertainment, the famous saying is the same but different. And I think now more than ever that's relevant. I think things that are fresh, and I shouldn't say fresh, but just brand new and isn't an existing IP, that's increasingly a more difficult proposition now. And if you look at something like Hades, that's killing it right now. It's a great game. They deserve all the attention and credit and all that sort of thing. but yeah, it's the same thing as like you go to the Marvel movies, like, oh, I know this guy, oh, there's the Hulk, and so this is, oh my God, it's Apollo, oh my God, and so we like seeing things we know, and it's human nature to be a little bit like, who is this character? I never heard of Mario before. Tell me about Mario. Who is Mario? Shut up. Yeah. Well, no, it's like at some point,
Yeah.
And so we take, you have to leverage things that are familiar. And that's why the idea of Medusa. But then also it's like, well, it's Medusa, and it's heavily inspired by Castlevania. And one of the first things you think about in Castlevania is that the Medusa heads that follow that sine wave pattern. And
how did that happen?
Well, Lita Tang, like he's our technical director. I worked with him on BioShock. Super talented guy, and he so the idea of I wanted to do basically a summon where like he would cast the spell, Drac would cast the spell, and they would summon the Medusa head, and we actually had the power in for a while, and but at one point he just was like, oh, it's Hadouken, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, why do we not think of this? And so of course we did the full pose.
Like all we do is make puns all day.
I know. So
not figure this out.
Yeah, he is an underrated pun master. Like,
he
spits fire. So
our whole team is very talented.
It's true. But just on the pun side, he's been phenomenal. I did not expect that. It was a huge benefit, huge side thing. I didn't know he was.
Yeah, I sent the Hadouken to a buddy of mine just before this interview, and he was immediately just like, I need this game now.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of that kind of weird stuff, and there's some fresh stuff as well. Like, so one of my favorites I talk about all the time. People are like, who cares? But rat darts. We have this like basically so you look at Dracula, you got to make good on the core fantasy, and so he can summon stakes, and he can temporarily turn into a bat just to like kind of bamf ahead and that kind of thing. He's pretty super powered, but he also one of the underrated or a little lesser known powers that he has is he can control rats or turn into rats,
like vermin. Like he has,
but specifically
power
rats.
over
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, rats. Nobody explores that, and I was like, oh, he just whips out like a bunch of rats and you flick them like shurikens. Yeah. And so yeah, no, it's bizarre. I'm
glad you like this.
I love it.
I just want to be clear. I'm like the furthest from like being animal cruelty or anything like that, but it's fun.
No rats were harmed
in the making of
Romancelvania.
Please don't try this at home. No, seriously. But yeah, anyway, so
it's okay. There's no rats in my province, so I actually can't. I've never seen a rat in person.
It's for real?
For real. Alberta is completely rat free.
Must be the just the weather, yeah.
No, there's a concentrated effort. We have rat patrols along the borders.
Oh wow.
And there's like an anti-rat task force you can call in if you see a rat, and they will like use infrared imagery to find like their nest and stuff.
I'm moving to Canada. That's awesome.
Specifically Alberta.
Alberta. All right. Done.
Wow.
Howdy neighbor.
I'm trying to remember so one of my buddies on BioShock Infinite, he went up and did RimWorld, the creator of that. I think he's in Alberta. I can't remember. It's terrible because I love Canada, and Montreal, Quebec, and Toronto. I've been a bunch, and I love going up there. But even with that in mind, the different provinces, I always forget how they're broken up.
Yeah.
Saskatchewan versus Alberta. I don't know where the line is. I'm terrible. I'm a stupid American. What do you want from me?
But then again, like, a lot of people can't even name all the 50 states. They look at a map and they're like, I know New York and I know California, and that's got to be Florida. Yeah. So it's fine.
Yeah, we had to memorize all 50 states in school.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Not all the capitals, thankfully, but
yeah, that's a bit much.
Yeah.
That is, you're not going to come into practical use.
Never will be practical now.
Yeah, I've been to America a few times, and my geographical knowledge has not been much use, but hey. So, what do you have for like accessibility features in the game? Like, do you have remappable controls, color blindness options, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we it's funny because when you talk about accessibility, one of the first things that the experts will tell you is you have to plan for that stuff in advance, and that's always tricky where you're trying to figure out the core of the experience, you're trying to figure out pillars and how to, and so it's very easy for that stuff to get kind of swept aside. And we talk about it as we go. I think it's the most important part is that you have the vocabulary, the pieces, and you're considering it in advance. In terms of what we're planning, there's a lot of things we'd like to do, and a lot of stuff that I think that the biggest thing is that we're designing with a lot of these things in mind and making sure that the text size is big enough, and that we're using the right kind of backgrounds when we're putting up subtitles. I don't want to make a promise here on this, but basically most if not all the dialogue will have text. I think there may be some pop-ups for some of the confessionals that may not. We have to work some special stuff out there, and we were actually just talking about this today about how some of the confessional pop-ups would work. And so, yeah, there's always that balance of just, again, trying to figure out where, how to incorporate these things as you go, and making sure that you're avoiding the pitfalls that you fall into with color blindness and sizing and contrast, and so I'm fascinated by that sort of thing. I had my master's in human factors and information design, which there's quite a bit on accessibility there. So I've had a lot of exposure to the subject matter, and I've always in my career tried to push for those opportunities. Although I'm not the best at always, especially as a lead on the BioShock series, there's so many things to take on. And I think, for example, in BioShock Infinite, there was a focus on it, but it was like that was a project where it was like there was so much to it that those things kind of, we got to do this and we got to do this, and it's like, and you have core features that fall away and that kind of thing. And so, actually, I'm not sure how we did overall. I know like Tara from Tara Volker from hello, wow, this is but Kickstarter brain again. Able Gamers, she was very a huge advocate on the team for it, and so I'd be curious to see what she thinks about it. But anyway, yeah, we're always looking into how to make that work. And with perception, we definitely dug very heavily into that sort of thing. We learned a ton, and those are kind of sort of lessons about the best practices, and you take that with you. But sorry, that's a little vague here. I didn't name intangibles, but I think a lot of it's best practices. Remappable controllers are a little more difficult. I think that one of the problems there is, and it really frustrates me that, as far as I know, that there aren't just sort of plug and play solutions for that kind of thing. One of them, I think, well, honestly, generally speaking, one of the most frustrating aspects of game development is that we reinvent the wheel so much over and over again. It's funny. I always joke that every project I have, every project I've been on, pretty much up until we went into, up until the Deep End Games, there was always the dreaded debate about how the shotgun is going to reload, and it's like this knockdown. It's like, well, what happens if you try and fire while you're in the middle of reload, and then it's like, how does that hit? It's like, listen, Half-Life 2 did it perfect. Just do exactly what they did. Let's not debate it. We want that, and it's like, but what? And there's special considerations, and there's like, well, we put it in this way in the animation. And so, yeah, I hope to get to one point in the industry where we have, that's why I love Unreal, is they have the marketplace. And so there's a lot of stuff that's like, I'm not going to build a rock. How many times have we built rocks in the industry? It's like, I'm just going to go to the marketplace and take that, maybe touch it up. And there you go. Now, because it's not, nobody's going to sit there and marvel over the rock, right? It's your anchor points that matter. It's the things that really, that really say, this game, this is Romancelvania. It's like, oh, this is a stage that Grimm put in here. You're not going to get that from the marketplace. Yeah, but you're going to get rocks. Yeah. And so, but I do hope to get to a point where, the marketplace will have opportunities like that. They'll have assets you can plug and play. And there's always special considerations. But so we're going to be very open to how to make it more accessible. And if there's the resources that we have to put towards it, we're gonna do our best to make it happen. That's why Kickstarter is great. That's why going to places like PAX and getting the feedback. I love interfacing with the fans. Yes. And people who are gonna see it differently than we do, see the game differently, and make us aware of where we're maybe not meeting expectations.
Yeah, see it differently in a very literal sense with color blindness. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Um, and so, yeah, we're going to, again, best practices. We're going to try. And we actually had a lot of questions about difficulty levels and that sort of thing. And to make it really easy and really hard is not terribly difficult. It's when you get into like, let's do a balanced experience where it's got to be like really challenging and it's got to feel the right kind of challenging. It's like, no, we're just going to obliterate you. That's one thing. Or it's going to be like, it's really, there's not a challenge here. It's going to make it super easy, and so therefore people can just enjoy the story and the characters. Those kind
We
of
did
things
that
were more.
with Perception. So when Perception came out, we really listened to what people were saying. There were a lot of people being like, listen, I love story games. This is a narrative game. I kind of just want to play the story.
Yeah.
Can we do that? And then there were other people being like, this isn't scary enough. I want it scarier. So we had two new modes. We had story mode and scary mode. And it really made a lot of people happy because they were like, that's how I want to play. And it really comes back to like I said before, like the deep end wants to give you choices.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
absolutely. So yeah, it's a learning experience, and we're gonna just try and keep evolving and doing what we can, pending, obviously budget and time and that kind of thing. But again, if you best practices is your best starting point.
All right. All right.
Is there anything in particular you would hope for?
Color blindness options are the big ones. I'm not colorblind particularly, but I have a few friends that are, and we we used to play Warframe together with one of them, and for their like Mars levels, I had to basically lead my friend by the hand through everything because she could not tell wall from ceiling because it was all just various shades of red.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a particular problem right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so yeah, a lot of that comes out, I think, in playtesting. So I think that hopefully, a lot of that comes out in best practices where, if it's a unique challenge when you're talking about Mars because, geez, there's a lot of red there.
Yeah.
And if it's not the kind of thing you think about that being a colorblind issue or an issue for somebody who's colorblind. And so, but I think it's the kind of thing that could be addressed, not necessarily in an option, but just sort of how you're approaching those textures and those colors and where the transitions are between the walls and so yeah, testing, man. That's
Yeah.
the right.
For sure.
Man, oh man, it's
Yeah, even something like a color shifting filter, that kind of stuff tends to help a lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
That is not something we had before in Perception, and yeah, I mean, it's the kind of thing we could certainly talk about. So again, my approach with that sort of thing is making sure you're not being terribly egregious with the information. Make sure you're coding things in multiple ways and that sort of thing, and making sure you're not like, I mean, not to pick on it, because it's sort of a cousin, but with BioShock 2, the hacking mini game, it gets picked on so much. Again, it's a cool game, cool mini game, and I totally understand how it happened, and I feel for them, but at the same time, it's like one of those things where it's like, just such a simple change, such a simple fix,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So is there anything else you two would like to bring up about Romancelvania while I've got you here?
It needs your support. Yeah, so we're about a week into the Kickstarter, and we would just love for people to check it out and honestly refer people to it, because I feel like everybody who sees it knows that one person, or like those couple people would be like, this is your jam. So we would love for you to take a look and share it far and wide, and let those people whose jam it is know.
Yeah,
that's what I would say.
Yeah, because it's been like it's always a learning experience, and with Romancelvania, it's been hugely encouraging to watch the reaction and to see people react the way that they have. And like I said, the people really pushing for the Van Helsings, pushing for more diverse characters and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's, like, well,
it's amazing.
We got them in spades, so like if that's what you want.
We announced the Van Helsing bloodline yesterday, and like less than 24 hours later, somebody was cosplaying it, and we were just like,
and that's about that. I mean, honestly, that has been a goal. I've always wanted that, and we got fan art from Perception. It was awesome, and but like, so this is, we're aiming high in that regard, and it's up to the audience really to run with it. And so that's why we love Kickstarter. We're able to adjust the game and listen to the feedback and ideally make a better game, help shape the vision even more clearly.
Absolutely. Well, it has been wonderful having you on here. And for those of you watching at home, there's a link down below this to the Kickstarter. And
Oh,
yeah, from all three of us, have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
thank you.
Thank you for coming on. See ya.
See ya.